Peace. So, um, this was long overdue. Just wanted to, before I say anything else, Brandon Power, William Gardner. Just want to let that breathe for a little bit. But yeah, this is long overdue video. Um, this police body cam footage was released. I don't know. You can find a date on the video, but yeah. So I mean, like I said, I'm late, and I mean, I try to keep this as for that reason, I try to keep this as brief as possible. Um, it's gonna take a lot of restraint because, again, I feel like anyone with just basic reasoning, common sense faculties, you don't even again it says you don't have to have like a vast knowledge of history, and you don't have to have studied the Black Panthers and just all the numerous episodes of police brutality and violence and really genocide is really what it is. But yeah, one doesn't have to be have a vast knowledge of all that. Like again, if you have a functioning eye, ear, sense of the five basic senses. You should just be able to just kind of like listen to some of this and come to your own conclusions as to whether or not someone is just giving you straightforward factual information, or someone is trying to um, frame something, create a narrative. As I said before, a narrative is just a fantasy, a bigger word for a lie. It's a bigger, more syllable word for a lie. It's a narrative. So, without further ado, let's watch this body cam footage, and you guys tell me what you think. You know.
Good. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. Joining me is Deputy Commissioner Nato of our Public Integrity and Compliance Bureau, and Chief Akani of our Public Integrity Bureau. We're here to release the body-worn camera footage from the police officer involved shooting that occurred on Monday, August 5th in the unit block of North Stricker Street in our Southwest District. Let me start off by saying we recognize that any use of force by law enforcement lends itself to a high level of public criticism and concern. We take those concerns very seriously, and are committed to continued conversation with the community. We don't have all the answers today because we're only a few days in the investigation, but we're committed to doing a thorough, transparent, and extensive investigation alongside the Attorney General's office.
Transparent. Okay.
At this time, I'll turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Nato to go over the body worn camera footage.
Good afternoon. As the Commissioner stated, we're going to release the body-worn camera videos, which shows a police officer involved shooting that took place on Monday, August 5th at approximately 9:20 p.m. Following our body-worn camera release policy, the videos have been given to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office, and the Baltimore Office of Equity and Civil Rights. To put some context into what you're about to see, this past Monday, 4 of our district action team officers are in the area of West Fayette and North Strickler Street.
Why do we need context? So my first objection would be, why do I don't need you to put anything in context. Just plainly, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so there's that. I've also found it funny how, I mean, again, like, how much time would you have to prepare for this? And you can't get the name of the task force right. So I don't know. Just let it go.
I'm sorry. North Stricker Street. They were responding to a report of a shooting that had taken place 1 hour earlier. They observed a group of individuals on a sidewalk.
Please tell me y'all caught that. Please tell me y'all caught that. I'll run it back real quick. I gotta find the 10-second things. I don't know what I'm doing.
Report of a shooting that had taken place 1 hour earlier. They observed a group of individuals on a sidewalk. Good afternoon. As the Commissioner stated, we're going to release the body. I'm sorry. North Stricker Street. They were responding to a report of a shooting that had taken place 1 hour earlier. They observed a group of individuals on a sidewalk.
Responding to a shooting from an hour earlier. I'm trying to, not spend too much time on the obvious. Does that smell right to anybody? So you guys were either an hour late, and then, there's that. That's a typical Baltimore City response time. It's either that, or then that's also completely made up, and you weren't responding to anything. And then the reporters kind of like do a great job. The reporters ask good questions, so I'll let some of the reporters, do some of the work that, you and I can do investigatively inside our heads. But yeah, like responding to a shooting from an hour earlier. Come on, man. Come on, bro.
At least one of the officers observed a male, later ID'd as William Gardner, grabbing his waistband and doing what appeared to be a security check. This can be indicative of an individual who has a firearm in their waistband, and they're checking to make sure that it is still there, not falling or moving. At least one officer, Detective Zachary Ullman, exited his vehicle. As Detective Ullman started walking towards Gardner, Gardner turned to begin.
All right, so far we got they're responding to a shooting from an hour earlier, and they're just riding around, and then I guess somebody with Superman vision saw Mr. William Gardner, in the dark through precipitation, in a group of several other young black men, adjusting his waistband to check and make sure that his weapon hadn't fallen. And this cop that had the best vision in the world got out and singled Mr. William Gardner out. I don't know how Mr. William Gardner, I don't know what he said. Hey, you there? I don't know, but this is what we got so far. And then somehow Mr. William Gardner knew that he was the one that, the officer had left his vehicle for to approach, and William Gardner fled. This is what we got so far. This isn't my word. This is Mr. Richard World. Well, this name is Richard World. This is his boss. This is his superior. Hang on.
Began to walk at a fast pace away from the detective. Another two detectives, Detective Devin Lomax and Detective Sheriff Kellogg, pulled up in their vehicle, and when they got close to Mr. Gardner, he began to run.
Shit.
Once that officer turns on the body-worn camera, audio and video starts to play immediately, but video from 1 minute prior is also captured.
Before they play anything, just how they framed what you're about to watch. I'm going to go ahead and frame what you're about to watch. Since they could frame stuff, I can frame stuff, right? Or you can use your own, like, you can hashtag Lauren, hashtag I get out the, I get out and, get out of the frame, see things from your own perspective, which is the whole point of this video. But again, like, you see how it was just all nice and neatly packaged. This is like a PowerPoint presentation. This is like a, something that you would submit to your boss. Like, this is I don't know. It just strikes me as really um, odd is a very poor choice of words, but it just we'll just go with odd and really, I don't know. It's poor taste is all of these things apply when we're talking about like the loss of a life, the loss of another, young melanated king, and um, they're neatly, chopped and edited, and it's like a little movie that they made, like a little, the little snuff films, and so let's go ahead and play it. Notice it picks up mid chase. The reporter's pointed that out as well.
That's a shadow of the building. Those are the officers getting out of their vehicle.
Okay, they're gonna slow down for you. They're not gonna slow down like
The firearm is right hand, and the cell phone that he has in his left hand. You can see the two moving towards the street as he falls.
we're gonna come back to the gun in one hand, cell phone in the other hand thing. We're gonna come back to that. But I just, I find it like they give you detail and slow-mo and high def about the things they want they want to emphasize. Just gonna let it go.
And that's the firearm in the top and the cell phone. That is a close-up of this firearm.
Again, I'm trying to keep things brief, so I just want to pose a simple question to you. What man, what person, not man, what person, period. I don't think cell phones are out when Set It Off came out, but what I mean, it doesn't even like nobody, it sounds too comical for someone to even like write in a movie, right? Like who is about to get in a shootout with the police and says, let me put my phone out. Hang on. I just want you to think about it. Make it make sense for me. Hashtag make it make sense. Who is about to get in a shootout with the police or anybody and says, wait, let me put my phone out. That hurts to watch, by the way. That hurt to watch. Officer Kellogg is the first picture I showed.
I mean,
You're gonna get shot. You're gonna get shot. You're gonna get shot. And then he gets shot. I don't know. Sounds like premeditated murder to me.
back up. I was searching down the ground. Did he go? Hey, sir, shot fired. Got shot fired. Hey, back up, back up. Back up, back up. Back up, back up. Hey, hold it up.
Presentation.
After the incident, the responding officers,
So, for starters, again, before Hijack speaks, I just don't like it's, the fact that it's presentation. That lets you know that one, it's not. This isn't raw footage that you're looking at. This is they had. I don't know how many days they had to watch this from the time of the incident, from the time this came out. You guys can do all the calculations. I don't feel like doing that right now. To edit it, you know, chop it, splice it, do whatever they wanted to. Like, if you think that these guys don't have like the best as far as like tech guys and people who can do these types of things, then okay, whatever. Like, remember the police in Dallas years ago had like robots. And remember how they went and got reprimanded in Dallas. So if you think that they can't manipulate footage and they got robots with bombs and stuff, then okay. But anyway, yeah. So this isn't raw footage. All right. So when you see the word presentation, That means it's been presented specially for you. It's been crafted, curated, edited. I just
Did do medical attempt to
Man,
resuscitate the individual. Medics were called. Unfortunately, was deceased at the scene.
they kill me with this. There was immediate attempts to resuscitate the individual. No, there was not. No, there was not. Why didn't he show that in the body cam footage? Because that was the first video. That was the first piece of footage that came out, and that was from somebody's like cell phone video. So, what officer? They say that like what? Name the officer who who attempted to resuscitate him. Name the officer. That doesn't happen. But anyway, it's just like I know some people like little lies matter. Little lies in the midst of a one big lie definitely matter. Even if it's just one little lie and that's it. It matters. Credibility matters. If you don't think credibility matters, then I mean this isn't I don't know why you're watching this channel.
The firearm was a CZ P7 9mm weapon, and also this morning we have met with the family this morning to show the video before it being released this afternoon. And for information purposes, all officers involved in these types of events are assigned administrative duties, which is our protocol.
Administrative duties. Oh, you mean like paid vacation? Oh, so shoot a black kid, get a paid vacation. Nice.
And they've all been referred to our health and wellness program.
This is truly a tragic incident, and the investigation is ongoing. What we do know is that our detectives were in the area doing follow-up investigations due to recent gun violence and robberies being committed in the neighborhood. Just 1 hour prior to this incident, officers responded to discharging in the area where we believe two groups were shooting at each other. The group violence unit is part of the group violence reduction strategy.
Okay, wait a minute. So you gotta get the story straight, boss. This is Richard Worley. You gotta get the story straight, boss. So officers responded an hour earlier, or they were responding from a shooting an hour later, or they were just in an area. You just said like three things, boss. First, they gave you officers were responding an hour later from a shooting an hour earlier. That's what they gave you. They gave you that earlier. Okay, this is the first one they gave you when the video started. I know I'm confusing with the later or earlier. My apologies. I'm trying to when you hear hijack speak, it's hard not to you got to really concentrate to stay above that frequency. It's easy to get sucked in. Okay, so the first Captain Crunch Barry that they gave you was that they were responding to a shooting from an hour ago. Then he just said, okay, they were in the area. Then he said, okay, I'm gonna let hijack speak.
What we do know is that our detectives were in the area doing follow-up investigations due to.
Okay, so you were in the area doing a follow-up investigation. So that would seem to imply that you were just there. You were just there. Y'all were just doing honest, earnest police work. Okay, but that's the second Captain Crunch Barry that they try to feed you. It's a big spoonful this time. And I'm gonna give you another spoonful real quick. Here, take
due
this.
to recent gun violence and robberies being committed in the neighborhood. Just 1 hour prior to this incident, officers responded to discharging in the area where we believe two groups were shooting.
So officers did respond then, and it wasn't an hour late. Like you gotta pick one, man. And the fact that you're not smart enough to you don't have the self-awareness to realize that you're not really presenting like a cohesive narrative is alarming. You're like, just, I mean, forget his title. You're a 50-something-year-old man. If you lack the self-awareness to know that, hey, if I'm going to like lie to someone, let me at least give them one consistent story and let them at least have to like break that down. Let them try to poke holes in that. It's much easier to poke holes in 3 shaky, like you can't even get that part right. You can't get that part right. So you want us to believe everything else you say? I'll let it go.
Shooting at each other. The group violence unit is part of the group violence reduction strategy and maintains a heavy presence in the Southwest and Western District. All the detectives involved were part of the group violence unit. Our neighborhood coordination officers have been active in the neighborhood, and our mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement has initiated a neighborhood stabilization effort following this incident. At this time, we will take questions.
I'll be open with questions. We're going to start this way and work our way down. So we're going to start with Jeff at Channel 2.
Is this all standard procedure that anyone that goes around their waistband would draw this kind of, just take through the characteristics of?
There are several different
So for those you couldn't hear, good question. Is it standard procedure? The reporter basically asked him, can you kind of like go through with them again? Like, what are some of the characteristics? Like, this is their quote, characteristics of, they said William Gardner was displaying the characteristics of an armed individual. So the reporter is asking him to like run. Hey, run those by me again, boss. Good question.
characteristics, but we can't tell you what the officers saw because we haven't been able to interview them yet. But there are several things that they go through training at the academy. They even have names for them. I read.
Like, if you don't have at least an eyebrow raised, then I don't think you have a pulse raise. But go ahead.
Some statement of probable causes. They'll do a security check. They'll do a stiff arm. There's heavy weight. There's a lot of things that the officers are trained to look for, not just one specific thing.
Scratching your scrotum, digging in your pocket for change, digging in your pocketbook for a Kleenex to blow your nose, being black on a corner in an inner city.
Following up on it, but will that body worn camera footage, or if it exists, of whatever the officer saw that started the initiation and the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yeah, so we don't have body worn camera.
That is a great question. And listen to so he looks. This is a very pivotal. If you skip whatever the hell, get this part of the video. So another great question. He can't even answer it. He's got to look to his boss. This is rich. Hang on. I'm gonna get it again. I'm gonna get it back for you.
To look for, not just one specific thing.
Following up on it, but will that body worn camera footage, or if it exists, of whatever the officer saw that started the initiation, the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yeah.
Great question. So what that officer saw, the initial approach, whatever the officer saw to initiate, this entire incident, where's that body cam footage? Where's that footage? That goes to what I was saying earlier. The body cam footage only picks up from when they're in the car. Now, you're going to hear his answer, and he's going to give you an answer, something to the effect of, well, they only are required to turn the body cameras on when they get out the car. That's a bold face. All right,
Yeah, so we don't have body worn camera footage of that because the officers at the time, because they were in their vehicle driving around looking, of course, as they mentioned, there was a shooting 1 hour before. They didn't have their body worn cameras on at that point, which they weren't required to. Once they get up and engaged, they should turn them on. But we don't have the video footage.
Okay, so what? First of all, what does the shooting an hour earlier? What did this alleged shooting an hour earlier have to do with this incident? Why is it even being brought up? You can tell when someone's lying to you when they just start scrambling and mentioning random things. That's an obvious distraction tactic. Like I'm not gonna let them do that to you. I'm gonna play the question back. I'm not gonna let them do that to you.
Whatever the officer saw that started the initiation and the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yes, but we don't have body worn camera footage of that because the officers at the time, because they were in their vehicle driving around looking, of course, as they mentioned, the shooting 1 hour before. They didn't have their body worn cameras on at that point, which they're required to. Once they get out to engage, they should turn them on. But we don't have the video footage of that.
So where's the body worn camera footage from the officer who didn't fire his weapon, but who allegedly is the one who gave chase? Want to? Oh, I have his name. Give me Zachary Oman. Zachary Oman is the one who did not fire his weapon, allegedly, but he's the one. Okay, so if he was the one who was on foot, where's his body camera footage? Where's his footage, boss? Like the reporter asked, why is that not part of the investigation? And then he just completely like throws you off. He completely tries to spin you. One more time for your mind.
Whatever the officer saw that started the initiation and the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yeah, so we don't.
Gardner, that
They'll do a security check. They'll do a stiff arm. There's heavy weight. There's a lot of things that the officers
Cool.
are
So you got
trained
all
to
these
look
fancy
for,
terms.
not just one specific thing.
You can have that on footage.
but will that body worn camera footage, or if it exists, of whatever the officer saw that started the initiation and the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yeah, so we don't have body worn
Right to
camera
his handler.
footage of that because the officers
Right to his
at the
boss.
time, because they were in their vehicle driving around looking, of course, as they mentioned, there was a shooting 1 hour before. They didn't have their body worn cameras on at that point, which they weren't required to. Once they get out to engage, they should turn them on. But we don't have the video footage of that because that did not happen at the time.
Leah?
Yeah, sort of
What does that mean?
piggybacking on that. Can you describe more in detail, like,
Turn them on, but we don't have the video footage of that because that did not happen at the time.
They'll do a security check. They'll do a stiff arm. There's heavy weight. There's
So an officer is on foot and he sees him and he gives chase. That's so it's we're already murky about that. Either somebody had super X-ray vision and saw all this the stiff arm stuff from the car, or somebody was already on foot and which was allegedly Mr. Zachary Allman. So then where's that body cam? Where's that footage? Why doesn't the footage pick up with that? Why doesn't your little presentation pick up from there, boss?
There's a lot of things that the officers are trained to look for, not just one specific thing.
Following up on that, but will that body worn camera footage, or if it exists, of whatever the officer saw that started the initiation and the encounter with Gardner, does that become part of it?
Yeah, so we don't have body worn camera footage of that because the officers at the time, because they were in their vehicle driving around looking, of course, as they mentioned, there was a shooting 1 hour before. They didn't have their body worn cameras on at that point, which they weren't required to. Once they get out to engage, they should turn them on. But we don't have video footage of that because that did not happen at the time.
Conveniently, right? Come on, yo. Like if you believe that, then I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. You're dumb. If you believe that, then you're dumb. It's not on them. It's on you.
yeah, sort of piggybacking on that. Can you describe more in detail, like, so the officers were in the car and they saw him grab his waistband and then like what happened next? Like what was the
So the one officer who did not discharge.
Again. Why is he even here? Mr. Richard Worley, sir, why are you even there? If she basically asked him the same question. She basically asked him the same question, almost verbatim, and he does the same thing. He's still confused on how to answer. So let me just make sure maximum job security preservation here. Hey yo, this is hilarious. Looks right back at his handler. Hey boss, you see what I ain't giving him nothing, boss. You go.
Discharge has given a statement. So they observed the individual. Of course, they were looking for people that might have been involved in the shooting 1 hour prior. They observed the individual standing there. He was grabbing his waistband and fidgeting around.
Come on, yo.
So they get out just to have a discussion.
Come on, yo. Come on, yo. Come on. Come on, yo. If I got a gun on me, on my hip, that's the very last thing I'm going to be doing. Is every 10 seconds is touching and fiddling with it and showing the outline on. I don't know if anybody's ever been in Baltimore, but it's like it's like police cameras, like literally, like they got big lights, they got sound devices, all these acoustic recording devices. It's pretty much on every block. So like it's nobody that's gonna come on, yo. That's just not even like natural human behavior, let alone I'm in that life, I'm outside, I'm actively like, what I'm saying, using this joint, like behavior. Come on, yo. This is what they're trying to get you to believe, yo. If this doesn't offend you, that he's trying to spin you, I don't know what will. I gotta get this. It's the reaction for me, yo. And it's like, yeah, like boss, like, bro, why are you here? Why are you here? Hold up. I'm gonna go back. Okay. Asking the same question, same reaction.
The officers at the time, because they were in their vehicle driving around, and of course, as they mentioned, there was a shooting 1 hour before. They didn't have their body worn cameras on at that point, which they weren't required to. Once they get out to engage, they turn them on. But we don't have the video footage of that because that did not happen at the time.
He's fidgety.
Leah?
Yeah, sort of piggybacking on that, can you describe more in detail, like, so the officers were in the car and they saw him grab his waistband and then like what happened? What was the
So the one officer,
She's just asking what happened. The same, literally the same thing I was saying, just more concisely. The same question I've been asking. So what happened? Were they in the car and they saw him fidgeting with his waistband? Is that exactly what happened? She's just trying to pin him down. Like not even, I can't even use the word pin. She's just trying to like narrow it down to one consistent story, and he can't even answer that. He doesn't say a word, even though that's what. Come on, yo. Come on. I can't make this up, yo. I can't make this up. Like 85% communication is nonverbal. If you can't tell when somebody's lying to you, then that's on you. That's not on them. And people probably lie to you a lot all day, every day because they know you're naive, gullible, dumb, all the above.
time.
Leah?
yeah, sort of piggybacking on that, can you describe more in detail, like, so the officers were in the car and they saw him grab his waistband and then like what happened next? Like what was the
So the one officer who did not discharge has given a statement. So they observed the individual. Of course, they were looking for people that might have been involved in the shooting one prior.
Who's they? You just singled them out. You didn't say them by name, but you singled them out. But then you go back to they. Keep your story consistent, man. And then you again, like it's just the obvious body language, the fidgeting. These are the clear, all like telltale by the book signs of somebody who's lying and making something up on the spot because they're uncomfortable, because they're nervous.
Prior, they observed the individual standing there. He was grabbing his waistband and fidgeting around. So they get out to
fidgeting like you,
have a
boss.
discussion or to walk up to them for whatever purpose. At that point, the individual started to walk away. As they got closer to him, he started to run away, and then he's the one that ran from the scene. which is why at that point they gave chase. While they're chasing, you can hear the officer say, he's still holding, which is indicative of somebody with a firearm. Then you can see when they caught up to him, he obviously has the firearm out. You can see in the shadow of the building. Also, when he turns towards the officers, you can see he has the firearm in his hand. And then we did the slow motion to show, when they come up to him and try to take him into custody, he does get shot as he's falling to the ground. You see the firearm and a cell phone also, but both of them falling to the ground.
Yeah, did he actually point it at the officers? Is that?
So you can see in the video, he was pointing at the officers that were in the car. Kellogg, as he's getting out, you can see from the video, and I know watch it 1,000 times, so you've only seen it once, but you can see back, he's moving him back to that point. Right here, as he's turning around, he's pointing towards the officers that are getting out of the vehicle.
And then the other officers, like back here.
The other officers behind him, so they'd come in a foot chase down the street. So one officer behind him, that officer right there, he starts to back up as the individual's turning around.
Darcy?
No, he's backing up because he sees the other officer unloading on him. The other officer has now proceeded to empty his clip. Don't try to tell me what I saw. I saw what I saw. He's backing up because the other officer has started shooting.
So was this person the 17?
Why are you here? Why are you even continuing to take questions if every time the question goes outside of your script that you are allowed to say, you got to look right back at your boss? This is comical. This is comic relief. And I say that in all due respect. Like, this is not comedy because we're talking about the loss of a life, but I mean, this is comical as far as like, if you believe that these people are giving you any sort of simulation of any sort of truth here, that's comical.
17-year-old, like a suspect in the shooting that had happened earlier? Was he like, were officers engaging this particular group, or did they just chase him because he ran?
They came up when the officers came up into the area, there were groups together.
Okay. Again, another $1 million question, $1 billion answer. Let me get it back.
Like, were officers engaging this particular group, or did they just chase him because he ran?
They came up when the officers came up into the area, there were groups together. And what they had an hour prior was discharging.
Was this person the 17-year-old, like a suspect in the shooting that had happened earlier? Was he like, were officers
Was he a suspect?
engaging this particular group, or did they just?
Were officers, did they know that it was this particular group that was involved in the shooting?
Chase him because he ran.
Or did they just chase him because he ran?
Came up when the officers came up into the area, there were groups together. And what they had an hour prior was discharging of two separate groups.
When the officers came in the area, there were groups together. So in any inner city in America, boss, there's going to be groups of people together.
Groups shooting at each other. For whatever reason the officer saw that alerted them to that individual, he gave characteristics that indicated to the officers that he was armed. As officers got out, he started to walk away, and then he started running. You can hear the officer say he's still holding. And if you look at the video, you can see his hand is clearly on something in his waistband. And that's characteristic of, they don't have most of your suspects don't have holsters. So the gun's got to be held in place as they're running because it'll bounce or fall out.
I guess the question is, like, was this group that they on the corner a group that they were looking for, like, as potentially involved in the shooting, or was this just a?
And then she like bears down. Then she like, I don't know who the supporter is, but shout outs to her because she didn't let him off the hook. And then She gave him a little bit of time, like, let me see how you're gonna wiggle out of this. He tried to wiggle, and then she tightened the net. She said, "Yeah, okay, I got you. I got you." So answer it this way now.
A random group that they came upon.
Hear the officer say he's still holding. And if you look at the video, you can see his hand is clearly on something in his waistband. And that's characteristic of they don't have most of your suspects don't have holsters. So the gun has got to be held in place as it'll running because it'll bounce or fall out.
I guess the question is like, was this group that they saw on the corner a group that they were looking for, like as potentially involved in the shooting, or was this just a random group that they came upon?
I don't know that right now. Most likely it was a random group that they came upon, but it is in the area we've been.
That's the most honesty we've gotten this whole investigation. That's the most honest answer. So now we know what your face looks like when you're telling the truth, Hijack City. I don't know, but most likely it was just a random group of black guys. It's the most honest answer we have gotten thus far, and that we're most likely going to get throughout this entire investigation, from open to shut of the manila envelope. What a great question, and thank you for the one straight. Like you're gonna tell the truth, even the demon, even a demon is gonna tell the truth by accident. You know what I mean? He's gonna slip up and tell the truth. You know what I mean? Just like you slip up and get caught in a lie, you're gonna slip up and tell the truth.
Like as potentially involved in the shooting, or was this just a random group that they came upon?
I don't know that right now. Most likely it was a random group that they came upon, but it.
You know that, and it wasn't most likely. It was.
And then he started running. You can hear the officer say he's still holding. And if you look at the video, you can see his hand is clearly on
the black guys
in his waistband. And that's characteristic of they don't have most of your suspects don't have holsters. So the gun has got to be held in place as it'll running because it'll bounce or fall out.
I guess the question is like, was this group that they saw on the corner a group that they were looking for, like as potentially involved in the shooting, or was this just a random group that they came upon?
I don't know that right now. Most likely it was a random group that they came upon, but it is in the area we've been getting the western southwest border where we.
I'm going to get the rest of the answer because there's a little bit more racism left in the rest of the answer, but I just want you to add the words black guys or young melanated men or nagas or niggas, Negroes, whatever makes you feel, but whatever makes them realer for you. But I just want you to add those simple two words.
Then the 17-year-old, like a suspect in the shooting that had happened earlier, was he like, were officers engaging this particular group, or did they just chase him because he ran?
They came up when the officers came up into the area. There were groups together, and what they had an hour prior was discharging of two separate groups shooting at each other. For whatever reason the officer saw that alerted them to that individual, he gave characteristics that indicated to the officers that he was armed. As the officers got out, he started to walk away, and then he started running. You can hear the officer say he's still holding. And if you look at the video, you can see his hand is clear.
Can also hear the officer saying he's going to get shot. He's going to get shot, and then he gets shot.
Clearly on something in his waistband, and that's characteristic of they don't have most of your suspects don't have holsters, so the gun has got to be held in place as it'll running because it'll bounce or fall.
And most people don't pull out their gun and their cell phone at the same time.
Wow.
I guess the question is like, was this group that they saw on the corner a group that they were looking for, like as potentially involved in the shooting, or was this just a random group that they came upon?
I don't know that right now. Most likely it was a random group they came upon, but it is in the area we've been getting the western southwest border where we've been getting shooting after shooting and robbery after robbery, and they were investigating
I don't know. Most likely it was a random group of black guys, but hey, they were in a high crime area where we've been getting a lot of shootings and a lot of robberies. That's not my words, that's his words.
Meeting the group when he displayed the characteristics.
Ollie, general.
Yeah, I may have misunderstood. I believe I heard in our story on this yesterday that there was an initial officer who engaged him. There was a struggle, and then he managed to flee, and then these group of officers engaged. Is that true?
You see, so like he's about to look at his boss again. This was his story, and this was reported. We don't need to spend too much time on this because I mean you can kind of see. Well, I mean, I don't know if you want. I mean, I think it's not that it's irrelevant, and that's not the point that I was making. But it's just at this point, it's like you can clearly see that a narrative is attempting to be crafted in front of your eyes. Like it's not even like a well thought out one. It's just like they're still trying to like think it, like on the fly. They're still trying to think it through so much so that he can't even really like, well, not can't really, he can't answer some of his questions, some of the questions that's being asked to him, and he has to look to a superior to ask them because they fall outside the parameters of what he is permitted to say. Um, so I think that's telling enough. Um, yeah. So one of the another murky narrative that was kind of like left out there in a sort of a very like intentionally ambiguous manner was that first like there was a struggle and then he got away and then they basically caught up with him again, and that like essentially it's kind of like is to speak to like, okay, so he had an opportunity, I guess, to surrender, or maybe he pointed a weapon at the officer the first time, and that's how he got away. And essentially, that's what basically gave them the green light to shoot him. So, like, this is a narrative that again was kind of like intentionally created and left out there, and that he's being asked about.
No, that is not correct. So the initial officers is 4 officers, 2 in each vehicle, at least one, because again, we haven't spoken to the 3 that discharged yet because we can't speak to them yet. But when we do, we'll get their story. But the one officer who did not discharge, he is the one that's provided us information that they saw the individual, what he was doing. He then got out to approach him. The individual started to walk away. He started to walk towards him. And then when he got into a foot chase, the 2 vehicles that were there, one that he was in and a separate vehicle that 2 other officers were in, began to chase him with vehicles.
Then his we should have his body cam from start to finish, especially if he didn't fire his weapon, which means that he didn't have to go into this like 2-3 day little protective custody, get my story straight thing that cops get to do. Like he didn't discharge his weapon, so y'all got his statement. You just said you got a statement. So then where's his body cam footage? He was on foot. You said, okay, well, they're not required to have the body camera footage on when they're in the car, which is okay, whatever. We'll just leave it. Presuming that's true, this guy, this guy was on foot. So when was his body cam cut on? And presumably, if he was on foot, the second that he thought that he saw some type of suspicious behavior, he should have been looking to get that on his body cam. No, so like, where's that body cam footage? I want to make sure we all heard the same thing, right? So I just want to make sure we all heard the same thing.
Who did not discharge, he is the one that's provided us information that they saw the individual, what he was doing. He then got out to approach him. The individual started to walk away. He started to walk towards him. And then when he got in a foot chase, who did not discharge,
Exactly what
he is the one that's provided us information.
Robbery after robbery, and they were investigating the group when he displayed the characteristics.
Ollie, general.
Yeah, I may have misunderstood. I believe I heard in our story on this yesterday that there was an initial officer who engaged him. There was a struggle, and he managed to flee. And then these group of officers engaged. Is that accurate?
No, that is not correct. So the initial officers, 4 officers, 2 in each vehicle, at least one, because we haven't spoken to the 3 that discharged yet because we can't speak to them yet. But when we do, we'll get their story. But the one officer who did not discharge, he's the one that's provided us the information that they saw the individual was doing. He then got
So where the hell is his body cam footage?
out to approach him. The individual started to walk away. He started to walk towards them. And then when he got into a foot chase, the other 2 vehicles that were there, one that he was in, and a separate vehicle that 2 other officers were in, began to chase him with vehicles because he was going through alleyways, which you can see where they caught up to him on Stripper Street.
Okay, so no prior struggle before this.
No prior struggle
Didn't
before
you
that.
guys say yesterday there was a brief school? Like,
Yeah,
right
The
before-
the struggle is right there as he gets to the scene.
Yeah,
The officer has a hold of him and he struggles and pulls away.
And just to be clear, that officer on foot struck is not the one who, he's the only one who did not fire.
So the officer on, so the initial officer is Officer Allman, Detective Allman, who is chasing him. He comes to the scene at the end because the individual is going through alleyways and he's looking for him. The other officers then see him running down the road, so they pull up alongside of him in their vehicle. Detective Allman is like a block behind them, so he comes to the end after it's over with, and then helps to render aid, etc.
Right, so we're gonna go to Keith at 5:45.
So before I ask a question, to be clear on the struggle issue, initially there was a struggle and then gunfire, right?
At the end, at the end,
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a struggle. At the end, you can see where we started
There's
from.
one thing in the commissioner is shaking.
Well, it's about, you can see on the video, he goes to, if you should, let's slow the video down, you can see on the video, the officer catches up to him.
So there was a struggle, then gunfire.
Within seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the question was there a struggle at the beginning when they first saw him? That's a West.
I understand.
Yeah.
So
There was no struggle. From what we saw, there was William Gardner was running. They pulled up alongside him. This Zachary Oman guy stopped. It's almost like he almost caught up with him and he fell back once he seen the other officers getting out and starting to shoot. So like, I mean, we can use and or omit the word struggle. It doesn't really change much.
there was
I
chase,
think they're
struggle,
attempting-
gunfire.
What they're attempting to highlight was, and I feel like that's, they kind of got, they did their job. They questioned an inconsistency. I was about to say they got spun a little bit. I'm hesitant to use that word because they did their job, which was to just ask about inconsistencies. And that was one of them. Like I said, that's one of the narratives that they created, that there was an initial struggle and then William Gardner got away. But now they're trying to basically defer very heavily to the video and say, hey, as you can see, there was a chase and then a struggle. And then within seconds, there was gunfire. I mean, or you can look at the body cam, and then listen to their description, their attempted framing before and their, narrative of it after. And then, use your own senses and reasoning.
Okay. The question, Commissioner, please. Bottom line, I know it's preliminary, but bottom line, what does this footage reveal to you? Excessive force, or did your officers respond appropriately?
That's still part of the investigation, but the officers are chasing an individual who's clearly armed. They get up to the individual.
Reporter asks, "What does this footage reveal to you? What's the point of this? What do we learn?" Poignant question. But of course, what the hell is he going? What the hell else is he going to say? I had a gun. He's clearly armed. We did the right thing. Everything's justified. We shot him. End of story.
Tried to take him into custody. warned him numerous times to drop the weapon. He does drop the weapon. He turns and points the weapon towards the officer. The officer can fire.
So they acted appropriately.
It's still part of the investigation.
And follow up, please.
So you won't say yes. You won't answer yes to the question, the simple, straightforward question if they acted appropriately. You can't answer yes to that. But everything they're doing and showing is to convince you that what they did was like, this is like double think at its finest, right? Double speak at its finest, 1984. They won't answer the question. So you did everything correct. The investigation hasn't been completed yet. But everything they're showing you and saying to you is to suggest that yes, they did everything correct. So then, which one is it? Like you see what I'm saying? They're playing with your. That's not. If you can't see that, that's like playing with your mind. Like again, like you got bigger problems. You probably like shouldn't start at my channel. You should start with you got bigger issues in life. If you can't see that they're attempting to manipulate your mind. This is just the media. This is just this situation. This happens every single time someone, a journalist, a narrative picks up, goes live on a camera. Every single time you hear something from media, a politician, this is what happens. They're playing with your mind. They're attempting to tell you that black is white and up is down and left is southeast and women are men and men are women and that none of those terms mean anything anyway, so why even use them, and that they're justified in all their police killings.
There was a part of the video where several officers, one in particular, I'm going to shoot you. Get on the ground. You're going to get shot. I'm going to shoot you. Get on the ground. At what point did that officer see that individual was armed to suggest that he's going to get shot?
We would have to talk to the officers. We don't have that information right
So
now.
it's not clear if that officer knew whether or not he was armed when he was saying, I'm going to shoot you.
We haven't been able to talk
Yeah.
to them
So you do hear on the video before that.
Right. So the one time he probably put his foot in his mouth. See, the one time you should have deferred to your boss. Like you should have looked at that. I mean, now you see why he was looking to his handler, because this guy is clearly dumb. Is a bucket of crispy fried shrimp left out overnight. Like I can't make this up, yeah. I can't make this up. This guy writes the jokes.
You're going to get shot. I'm going to shoot you. Get on the ground. At what point did that officer see that individual was armed to suggest that he's going to get shot?
We would have to talk to the officers. We don't have that information right
So
now.
it's not clear if that officer.
You see him look. You see him looking. Hey, boss, you got this. But see, that's what you get. You messed. He thought he had it. He messed up. Insert foot.
Officer knew whether or not he was armed when he was saying, I'm going to shoot you.
We haven't been able to talk to
Yeah.
them.
So you do hear on the video before that where he says he's still
Look, he knew he messed up. He knew he messed up. He just shut up and got out the way.
holding. He's still holding. The driver's saying that. So the passenger is the one you're speaking of, but the driver he's still holding. He's still holding.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You can't answer whether or not your officer knew for a fact that William Gardner had a gun as they're screaming, I'm going to shoot you, or you're going to get shot, you're going to get shot. I mean, if that's not a mic drop, that's not a great mic drop. I don't know what else is. So like, I mean, this is it. This is the end. Now they tuck their tail between their legs. And like the rest of it, is not worth
We're
showing.
gonna release. Go.
They they show the body cam one more time. I mean, there's another 6 minutes left in this video. Obviously, you guys can go get this video if you want. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description. Yeah, like it's a lot that I can say. But like it's just like I don't know. You see it, right? Hopefully you see it. The cappery is just like it's top, it's elite, it's top level. It's top. I'm not gonna say it's elite because elite would imply that it's smart, like that it's elite, that it's intelligent. Um, it's just I don't know if frustration quite captures it. I don't know, I mean, I'm sure that if if you're still listening, thank you by the way. Please like, share, sub. Um, Again, this least you can do for his mother, least you can do is for his family. Um, I'm pretty sure his kid is, his kid's mother is like, oh, is due. Pretty sure that he has a baby being born right around, time I speak, could have already been born. So peace to the kid. Um, and that goes to show you that, you can't bury your seed because, you know, it's only going to spring forth more life. So, hashtag the more life, toast to more life, not the more life that Aubrey was saluting to, but we're talking about, you know, real, high frequency life. Us, you know, I'm leaving that there on the us, more or less though. Yeah, like you can see it, you can smell it. It should offend all your senses. I'll just, I won't give a big long speech here. It's just pretty like cut and dry. Like you should see, um, you should be able to like detect the cappery, like without the sound of my voice or or me narrating any of this. Like it should offend you. It should offend your senses, and you should demand more questions. You should demand more answers. You should demand more accountability. There's like a whole lot I can say, but I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap it up. Rest in peace, William Gardner. Um, Reign in power, William Gardner. Legends don't die. Um, just continue to check back in for more work, more videos. More exposés, just more facts. Peace and love. Shalom to the cons. Um, if you made it this far, again, please just just let me know, what you think about, anything that was said in this video. If you sat through an hour and 9 minutes, listening to the sound of my voice, something I had to register. So please let me know what did. Send this to somebody who you think would actually give a bleep. Um, you know, um, Thank you. Peace and love.